Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Nerditorium broadcast edition. Like we're
So
journalists,
nice to
but
see all of you out there.
we're not actually journalists. And yes, Dinkar, nice to see
No.
you in the edit when this video is
Yes.
uploaded.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're going to be talking about the last film we saw in theaters and a movie that is recently released on demand on Disney Plus. We're talking about Pixar's
Yeah.
Onward. Uh,
Man, you remember
yeah.
when we went to see it and we were possibly the only people in the theater and we weren't sure why that was? So we were kind of pissed off because we were like, do people not respect Pixar movies anymore? But it was probably because people were being more sensible than us and staying at home.
Yeah, we were being a little we were being a
It
little
didn't
too
occur to us. The
yeah.
Pixar trumped it. Probably not the best decision, but well, yeah, last movie we saw in theaters.
And in IMAX 3D no less.
With laser.
With lasers, man, and I'm so glad we saw it with lasers because this movie was pristine to look at, and it was quite a good film as well.
Yeah.
So
And
let's
now
talk about
people can
Onward. Yeah,
Yeah, people get to watch it at home now. So, well, Onward is basically about two elf brothers. It's
Yeah.
well, to start with, it's set in this fantasy world that is a lot like our real world. So the starting concept, which is one of these classic Pixar ideas where they take something really bizarre and
Yeah.
then go with it, like like a rat who can cook, for example. In this case, it's a magical world filled with unicorns and fairies and elves that discovers technology. So they discover, like, for example, a light switch, and they go like, wait, this is so much easier than magicking
Casting a
up a
spell,
fire
yeah.
every time. So they get used to using technology, and slowly their magical world starts to look a lot like our real world, with a few differences. Like, for example, the fact that they have elves, or like the fact that their unicorns are basically giant rats that root around in the trash because nobody has
Yeah.
use for unicorns anymore.
Yeah.
So already it's such a like fantastically weird premise that you're kind of hooked.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Pixar is really good at. They sell really weird ideas to you right at the outset of the film. Like whether it's a Monsters Inc. Saying that children's screams are what powers their entire universe of the monsters, and they have this entire door
Yeah.
system. It's just like a really wild idea that can only come from the mind of, like, say, an animator or somebody like a great storyteller. And this is
Yeah.
very much in the vein of that. And in the first 5 minutes of the film, they set this up, and you're just immediately kind of put into the world in media res of the story of these two brothers who have lost their father a long time ago, and their single mom is now kind of just trying to basically make this household work. She has a boyfriend, and the brothers are kind of trying to adjust to their
May I
new
point
life.
out that the
Yeah.
boyfriend is a centaur?
Yes, the
A
boyfriend is
centaur
a
cop.
a centaur policeman. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so basically, the story focuses on these two brothers and how the younger brother, who's played by Tom Holland, the other is played by Chris Pratt, who do an excellent job in this, as well as the rest of the cast. So the younger brother basically feels like he didn't get enough time with his father because he passed away before he has any real memory of him. And all he has to go by are these old kind of recordings on an old tape recorder and things like that. And what happens is basically they invoke some really old magic to try and be able to see their father for one more day. But what happens is they get kind of cut off in the middle of that spell, and absurdly they only get half of their father who appears, which
Only
is
the
just
bottom half,
the
yeah.
bottom half. So it's just his legs and his feet, and basically they need to try and complete the spell before the day is up. And so they have to kind of go on an epic kind of very Dungeons and Dragons-y quest.
Yeah.
So that's basically the setup of the film, and then shenanigans obviously ensue when we meet more characters.
It's almost
but yeah,
the initial concept is almost similar to Brave, where
Yeah.
where Merida was stuck with her mom in bear form.
Bear
So
form,
it's
yeah.
like it kind of starts like that, but then it goes into a whole bizarre world, and it's really well while the goal of the brothers is to kind of have one moment with their dad at the end of
Yes.
the day, what the movie ends up being about is the relationship between the two brothers and
Exactly.
about family in general.
Yeah, and I actually really appreciate that they can make a movie feel like it's an emotional setting about this guy who longs to kind of have a father figure in his life, but they pivot that emotion into something else, and that happens with, they can do it so economically. Basically, with one kind of, one scene is all it takes for you and the character to realize, oh, this movie is really not about that, and it's about something else
and
entirely.
I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah. But they do it so, I mean, like, they set it up really well, like in the movie, the older brother played by Chris Pratt is kind of like this, he's kind of what feels like like he's like this kind of nerdy guy who's like a real bro, but he's like a really sweet guy.
He's a
but
Jack
like a
Black character, basically.
He's a Jack Black character who's like a kind of a lovable fool kind of character is what they set him up as. And the fact that he's very happy-go-lucky kind of comes to the, annoyance of the younger brother who's like, man, we gotta focus on this spell and try and figure it out. But what you realize is that this guy is just, he's exactly the type of person that a younger brother like him needs. And that's really what the story's about. I just thought it was really, really funny. The beats in the movie are how they kind of incorporate the magic into this world, which feels really like human, and I think that was really awesome about it. Like they managed to kind of bridge those worlds really, really well.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right in that there's an emotional pivot moment really, at which point you suddenly are taken in by how much this movie has hit you. And so what this movie pulled off that really surprised me was it was very light and breezy throughout. So it felt almost like one of Pixar's lighter movies, like a Cars, for example, or actually more accurately like a Cars 2.
Or a Cars 3, no.
Or a Cars 3. Hey,
Cars
look,
2
the Cars movies are fine, except for Cars 2.
Except for Cars 2. Cars 1 and 3 are amazing, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. But you know how in Cars, it's kind of like it's a pretty funny, light movie with like, oh, the cars are humans, until suddenly there's a moment at the end when there's that whole interaction with Doc and Lightning where you're like, whoa, do I care about these cars? Like, am I emotionally invested in this car? And that's kind of what happens here. Yeah.
I'm going to propose a Pixar theory, a new Pixar theory, not the one that they're all connected, blah blah blah. Though this one perfectly fits within that way, I suppose.
Of course it does.
Here's another Pixar theory. I feel like Pixar teams basically work on these movies in alternate fashion, right? Like they have their big emotional movies and they have their slightly lighter films. So I would put this under the lighter category. So like a Brave, like a Good Dinosaur, or a Cars. No, not a Cars actually, but there's a new Pixar movie that's coming out later on this year, which is called Soul, which looks like it's gonna wreck everyone in the way that Inside Out did. Yeah, it already looks devastating. So I would say that Pixar kind of does this, emotional kind of up and down thing. This movie still made me cry in the way that like The Good Dinosaur does. Even though those are slightly lighter, and would you say that it's even more focused on a even younger audience, or is this kind of still in the even, I mean, adults can also enjoy this, but it feels like still focused
as
towards,
we did.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
I think it might be actually like the fact that it's a high school setting, and it kind of talks about how kids adjust in different kinds of families, like like basically having a stepfather who you might not like, or never knowing your father. So yeah, maybe it is kind of slightly geared towards kids, and that's why it's also probably kind of light.
So yeah, as opposed to like a movie like Soul, which seems to be about much older, like somebody in his middle age, like a middle-aged character who's like a musician, and all these kind of events happen around that, at least from what we can tell. So it feels like they have to they do this kind of swap between like stuff focused completely on just kids versus stuff focused on like maybe slightly older, or I don't know. Maybe I mean this is the distinction I made in my mind. Yeah.
No, I think you're right, and plus they do this thing even in the lighter movies, like in this one, where towards the end they'll go like, you know what? We can still get you if we want. We can devastate you.
Exactly,
we're not doing it this time, but watch out. It's like a warning shot.
They made like one decision somewhere in the middle, and they're just like, you know what? Let's just screw these guys and let's just like wreck them in one scene. And it does. So anyway, we really, really enjoyed this film. You guys should check it out. It's on Disney Plus right now, which is also now in India legally. So definitely check it out. And let us know which is your favorite Pixar film that has come out in the most recent years. We know all the greatest hits are there, Toy Story 3, etc. But in the recent slew of Pixar films, tell us where this one ranks in the comments, and we shall reply there as well. Cool. Thanks, Dinkar.
nerds.
See you, nerds.